Hey everyone, this is Seeking Sister Wife, One Nation, Season 3, Episode 12.
Cringe fest.
Well,
it's pretty cringe. The whole 2 sets of people we saw.
Yeah, so it was kind of a weird episode. We only saw 2 of the families, and it had like almost like a finale feel, but I'm sure they would, 1, have said if it was the finale, and 2, they would have done a wrap-up on all the couples. And I remember in past seasons they kind of do like a fade out with, you know, as of now they're still looking, kind of stuff like that. And of course in the past season 1, man, they're all blurring together. Season 1 they did a like tell-all episode. They didn't in season 2 because I think it's right when, I think it finished airing right when the pandemic hit. It just kind of ended. So, but I saw some other people on Twitter being like, was this a finale? Because it almost felt like a finale, and then we didn't see all the couples. But it was the same amount of content as always, which is not very much. We only saw the Merrifields and the Snowdens, who are the 2 most exciting couples. I like, is it the Joneses, who keep getting dumped? I think they're my favorite couple. Just the most interesting, because I was like,
The magician?
The magician and his girlfriend, who I think they've been ghosted by at least 3 different people. The bartender, the girl they ate, Alexandra, and I think there was someone else. Anyway, but I find them the most interesting. But this is, and the Snowdens, like I've said before, we don't watch, it's too much to ask us to watch the show, create a timeline, read the news, and then overlay it. We just evaluate the shows. It's totally cool if you, as the viewers, do something different, but we don't keep up on any of that.
Yeah, this is not investigative journalism.
Right, we're not paid at all. I mean, we get a tiny bit from the ads, especially if you watch them, but it is a very tiny bit. Anyway, we mostly do it because people are so nice. We love talking to them, mostly. Anyway, the Merrifields, it's been 8 months since they last saw Roberta. The whole family, including their kids and the in-laws, all go. And it is, once again, a play within a play. Because it is the parents trying not to humiliate their daughter on national TV, while also trying to raise as many, or point out as many red flags as they can, while not burning every bridge they have. And so it's very much this complicated, it's some of the best acting I've seen, because they're trying really, I mean, don't you think?
It was terrible.
A lot. So anyway, they're there, and the dad is a little bit like, I don't even know how to describe it. And the mom, both of them are very much like, this is not a good idea. But you are adults and you're not going to listen to us. And we're certainly not going to humiliate you on TV, but we also want to point out the train coming while also not being cut off and that whole thing. So she's there. Garrick's crying the whole time. Every time he sees Roberta, he's in tears. He couldn't care less about his original wife. Barely talks to her. Large wife. They're at this house and he's going to shack up with Roberta the whole time and try to impregnate her. They're not married. He keeps talking about how God wants this for him, and it seems to be just every time. I mean, they're like making love on camera. I'm like, this is some real mixed messaging from.
Roberta takes off her shirt over her bathing suit, and then immediately large wife does the same.
Same thing, yeah. So they're out there.
It was so cringe.
And the dad goes, what did he say? He's like, oh boy, and then grabs his drink as Garrick's like. On Roberta, like crazy stare eyes. I mean, I feel bad. I feel worse for the kids because this is sending some really conflicting messages. Not conflicting. It's just it's a train wreck. Everyone can see it. The viewers can see it. Everyone can see it. But it doesn't affect our lives. But it does affect theirs. The dad kind of pushes on Garrick a little bit and is like, you know, you've got to be looking out for your first wife, Danielle. Anyway,
large wife
really pushes into it. He's giving her, and he's like, Garrick's like, well, it'll all work out, and he's like, well, you got to make sure it works out. Well, we'll just see. Okay, we're not going to see. You're gonna make it happen. Well, if God wills it. Okay, well, you know, and kind of was pushing, and Garrick just looks at him with these Garrick just all the time has his mouth hanging open. Every time someone talks to him, they get news about she's passed the first step of the K-1 visa, and then he's crying. Oh, and then I was going to say, she's talking to her mom, and she's like, well, in every relationship you make sacrifices. Okay, what sacrifice is he making? It doesn't seem like he's making any sacrifices for this. She is, and I turned to John and I said, John, I don't think I've ever made a sacrifice that involves you banging another woman. I shouldn't say that like maybe I've forgotten. I haven't, and I don't think that's a sacrifice I would make. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you really love me, you know, it's just so crazy because it's just every relationship has to make sacrifices. I never heard of someone in a healthy relationship who's had to make that sacrifice.
For God and country, honey.
You would do it?
No.
Okay, so that's the Merrifields. There's nothing new. It's just there's a train. It's still going to hit them. Every week we talk about the more and more red flags. And every week, and then like the whole thing, like, and this is what got me. Garrick's like, this week has been perfect. You know, everybody together. He's sleeping with one wife the whole time. So what he hasn't really discussed is the fact that their ideal relationship would not be him banging Roberta every 2 seconds to try to impregnate her while ignoring large wife, as he calls her. That's actually not the ideal. The ideal would be complete balance. And I don't think this is the ideal. This is what they've said polygamy would look like, and they're not even doing it. It's just him.
Shocking.
Anyway.
It's almost, next you're going to tell me the internet isn't full of truth.
Well, anyway. So then the Snowdens, they're getting married. I had to rewind this because John thought I misheard it first. Not that he really cared, but I rewound for myself, just to make sure I heard it correctly, which is they're getting married a week after he engaged. So she didn't even know it was coming, and now they're getting married a week later. Now, we are people, we are a family of action.
We are people.
We are
lizard people.
Well, I was going to say we're high activators, which only works if you're familiar with the Clifton Strengths terminology. But I was going to say we're men of action, but I'm not a man, so it didn't work. But that's why I said people. Anyway, we're the kind of people that if something needs to be done, we're like on the phone within 5 minutes. We're getting it done. It's usually done within a day. That's like, it's hard, very hard for us it has to be longer than that. That's just what we do. That's just how we like to get things done. Still going to say a week is short, especially when you find out that she hasn't told her family. Once again, I think this is a situation of a family.
Well, clearly they're living together and talking about everything all the time.
All the time. Yeah, John's like, how has this not come up before? And I'm like, now John is not a big talker, but still, we talk about everything. It's very, that smirk is him, is like he's thinking against my will. And then he's being talked at. Anyway, I would like someone to explain to me who's more familiar with South America why she can come over without a K-1 visa. I'm guessing she's just...
South Africa?
Yeah. I'm guessing that she's just allowed to come over and visit kind of as long as she wants. Maybe because of the pandemic that's been extended a bit, even longer.
Pretty sure that.
And that they can get married, but she is not going to instantly be able to. And I have a lot of friends who've married because I'm really big in competitive archery, and people in competitive archery a lot of them, not all of them, but quite a few of them tend to marry other competitive archers. And there's only so many in the U.S. So I know a lot of people who have married people from other countries. And, you know, there's a lot of, they get married, but then they have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until their K-1, maybe it's not a K-1 visa at that point. Whatever it is they get, legal residency or whatever. So I'm a little curious though if someone is an expert on that, feel free to inform me why they can just go ahead. They haven't once mentioned visas or legality or anything. And it looks like until recently she just stayed in the US, how that all works. Anyway, I have one note on the last thing, the most uncomfortable moment with the Merrifields. I'll add that last, the baby maker shot. Those are my only two notes in the Snowdens. So she calls her family. There's this long, tense moment, which is, of course, helped by editing in a whole commercial break of like 9 minutes in between this. She tells her family she's getting married and she's not coming back. And they're like, eventually they say, hey, that's great news. Once again, I think this is a case of what else are we going to say? Are we going to have a fight with her on TV while they're filming or what? And then the other thing I would add about the Merrifields is they did a baby maker shot, which is I would not do that with my in-laws.
Oh, right.
With a
I
single
do remember
wife.
that now, because that was another cringe.
It was so cringy, and it was just so uncomfortable. Like, I don't even know with my girlfriends if we're having a girls' night out. That's like the kind of place we might do it. But like mixed company in general, in front of in-laws that are not related to the person you're trying to bang and have sex with. And then he's like, I don't know, it's like he talks about, I don't know. The way he talks about sex makes me never want to have it again. Because it makes me so uncomfortable.
We gotta stop watching this show.
I'm kidding.
Better be.
Well, with the show's on, turn it off. Everything returns to normal. But in that moment, it makes, the way he talks about sex is the unsexiest thing I've ever seen. Okay. So, I assume we'll see you next week. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, bye.